Well,
Nice little break.
if you want to learn about skiing, you got to come to my hometown, Ellicottville, New York. Zach Keefer of The Athletic.
I need to learn a lot about skiing, I'll be honest.
Well, we're here at One Bills Drive, Bills Chiefs this Sunday. Are you going to be here, by the way? I didn't even ask.
No, I wish, man. I did the AFC Championship game in Arrowhead last year, so I feel like I'm missing out, but I'm not going to be there Sunday.
It's going to be something. I mean, regardless of whatever these teams are going through, it's going to come down to one possession. I was just talking with Cyrus Torrance about the AFC Championship game. It came down to that one play. Like Steve Spagnuolo showed them a look they hadn't seen all game long. So I'll share that conversation at Go Long later today. But wanted to bring Zach on here for a Substack Live because we finally checked in on those Indianapolis Colts, Zach, and long overdue here. I think like most football consumers, I was a little skeptical. Like, is this real? Am I looking at like AI on Instagram? Like, this deep fake? Is this a deep fake? Is Daniel Jones really tearing up NFL defenses to this degree? Yes, he is. The Colts are for real. Jonathan Taylor might run for more yards than anybody, might score more touchdowns than anybody. And it was awesome chatting with Michael Pittman Jr. For that feature, if you guys want to check it out. But, when we're going to bring up the Colts, we're going to try to learn what makes this team the best team in the NFL. Really, they're one boneheaded A.D. Mitchell drop football away from being 8-0. We have to check in with Zach Keefer of The Athletic. I imagine this will be a little more uplifting than our off-season chat, Zach, when we both were like, what is this team doing? Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones in a training camp battle. Well, Chris Ballard, Shane Steichen, to their credit, knew exactly what they were doing. So how are you, and where do you even start when we try to figure out what the Colts' secret is this 2025 season?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I mean, this is exactly what you had wanted to happen on the Friday of Halloween, right? So you're getting ready for Bills Chiefs, the kings of the AFC, and you're talking about the Indianapolis Colts.
Right? Isn't that
the 7-1,
crazy?
Utterly unstoppable, at least on offense, Indianapolis Colts. The crazy thing, Tyler, is I know this team well. I covered them for 10 years. I still talk to a lot of people over there, and I checked in on them during training camp. And training camp was focused on one person. And that person has not played a snap for this team this year. That's Anthony Richardson. The fan base was collectively united, 100%, maybe 99. 100% they wanted Anthony Richardson to get this job. And the other thing that's interesting that nobody's talking about is Daniel Jones wasn't very good in camp. He was okay. There was not a huge separation. It was not like he wowed the team or the fans, because the fans can watch every snap of camp. I'm being honest, like it's stunning. And I've learned a lot about what we see in camp and what's real and what's not. And you know this from being at camps over the years. And there's a lot of, I don't want to say lying, but there's a lot of smoke screens during training camp. And he wasn't that good. He was okay, but he didn't separate himself in a big way. But this is what this team needed. And I didn't really know that back in August, and I do now. But Shane Steichen's really good. And he's been really good throughout his career, despite with one quarterback. He's had success with Justin Herbert. He's had success with Phillip Rivers. He's had success with Jalen Hurts. He's had success with Gardner Minshew. And now he's having a lot of success with Daniel Jones. And the one he didn't have success with Anthony Richardson. And so the fans are eating their words. Some of the media is eating their words. This team's on fire right now. And just funny how when you get the right quarterback, and as you know, this team has been looking for that guy since August 24th of 2019. It's amazing what a team can look like when you get the right guy under center.
Amen. You ain't kidding, Zach. I didn't know that about training camp, that he wasn't necessarily separating himself to an extreme. The thing is, Anthony Richardson completed 47% of his passes last year. That is, there is Wyoming Josh Allen inaccurate, and that's a different level of inaccurate. And so, I had Connor Orr on the pod over the offseason, and the topic was which team is just going to surprise, is going to shock, that we're not talking enough about, that could make a jump. And, if I could, I'd pull like a Doug Marrone and take that podcast and bury it out back like a football, never to be heard or never to be watched again. Because I think I said Miami. Shooting from the hip on that
hurts.
Yeah, that was a bad take. I got Got to own up to that one. I'll stand on the Jordan Love mountain that that he was going to be good way back when. Misfired there, but what Connor said is, and it makes so much sense. Like 47% is so terrible. Like you just have to get to average. You get into the 60s, the mid 60s with that roster. I mean, they still won a decent amount of games last year with that number. You get to average, get to competency. This roster was always better than we probably gave it credit for. Like they have back to Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman in 2020 all the way through. They've drafted pretty well, haven't they?
That's the thing, and that's the conversation people are having in Indianapolis, and I want to get your thoughts. And I've had this conversation with Chris Ballard over the years because we've talked quarterbacks more than I can say. And he said it's funny when you have a quarterback, you're a good GM, and he's had a couple good ones. Andrew Luck, they won a playoff game. They went to the Arrowhead and were competitive against the Chiefs, and then they had Phillip Rivers, and that was a good team. And in the other years, they haven't had good quarterbacks. But I think what people are seeing now is it's always been a really good roster. He's drafted well. There are certainly misses. But I mean, he found Darius Leonard from nowhere. He drafted Quentin Nelson. That guy could be a Hall of Famer. Pittman, and maybe the best player in football right now. Like, I'm going to argue that Jonathan Taylor is the best player in football right now. I hate that the MVP is an only quarterback award. I think it should go to the best player in the game, the most valuable. And he is that right now. And so when you get a quarterback who's just completing passes, who can find the right checks, who can just get into the right situation, who doesn't try to do too much. These are basic elementary things. I realize I'm not enlightening your audience, but those are things they struggle with. They had a quarterback throw 47 completion percentage, and they won 8 games. They won 8 games with 47%. What can you do with 60%? We're going to find out. Everything has come together. Everything has fallen in place this year. They've had a lot of good breaks. The schedule has been soft so far. They've got some tough ones down the road. They've got San Francisco. They've got Seattle. They got Pittsburgh on Sunday. But the big one is Kansas City in a couple weeks. And I think the Chiefs are playing as well. Excuse me, is anybody? That's going to be the real barometer. Like, are they for real? We're going to find out. But with this offense and the way they can score in so many different ways, I think they are for real.
We got James Schwartz. He dropped in on the Substack Live, and he's always following those New York Giants, James. So thanks for posting a question. He makes a good point. He goes, what's the one thing that Daniel Jones had when he got the contract with the Giants? An O-line and a stud running back. It's so true. They didn't really have weapons. I mean, they're picking up Isaiah Hodgins late in the season. That's their number one. And he played well enough to get in the playoffs. They beat that was ironically the game that probably got him the contract is when they beat a bad Colts team and he was lights out. They get in the playoffs. It's like, oh, okay. You were there.
Never sign your quarterback to an extension after you beat Jeff Saturday's Colts. It should be a rule in the NFL. Don't do it.
Yeah, it really should be. But that's what they did. Now, my question for you is, I've talked to some sources out there with the Giants, and they admit like they probably believed in Daniel Jones a little too long, obviously, but the personality of the quarterback did not match the personality of the coach. It's crazy to me that Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones lasted as long as they did together. Daboll, he's used to the guy here in Buffalo, Josh Allen, where he can get in his ear hole. He can let him have it. Josh takes it. Josh responds. He plays on emotion. It was a very special coach quarterback rapport. I remember going to some of those Giants training camp practices, and you'd see Daniel Jones like make a play, and it's just laser beam, stone face, no emotion. Daboll's going up to him, smacking him on the ass. You've got Shea Tierney doing the same kind of stuff. They're trying. It's like these guys. They coach with emotion. They love players who play with emotion. That's just not Daniel Jones. And it bothered him. The Hard Knock stuff legitimately bothered him. That same day we talked about it. And he said, yeah, that was not enjoyable. He did not like the fact that they were thinking about drafting another quarterback who was Jaden Daniels. So you tell me, like, is Shane Steichen seems like a very serious, stoic, even-keeled, Daniel Jones-like personality. Is that matched up? Is that a big reason for his kind of breakthrough this season too?
I mean, Shane Steichen is Daniel Jones Sr. I mean, they went to a Butler game, a college basketball game a couple of weeks ago, and they sat on the sideline and there's a picture of them. And I'm like, these guys are twins. I mean, Shane's older, but like they're the same dude. Not superly overly emotional, I mean, Shane Steichen was the quarterback in high school who would sneak out of parties. He would ditch parties to go break into the field and throw like routes to his receivers. Like he's that kind of guy. He's a football nerd. And I wrote about Daniel Jones a couple of weeks ago, and I scoured the locker room and asked 10 or 15 teammates to tell me one thing that's interesting about Daniel Jones. And I got a lot of like, I don't know, man, like shrug of the shoulders, like pursed lips, like, and then I asked Daniel, like, about the same thing. And he was like, yeah, I don't do a whole lot besides this. So that's what I heard when I talked to a Giant scout. He's like, we love Daniel. The work is not the problem, but the personality thing is interesting. I spent all summer talking to quarterbacks and coaches about why it doesn't work in one place and then why it might work in another place. And personality and fit is maybe the hardest thing to judge at the early stages, but it does have a huge play in that. And long-winded way of answering your question,
No.
they absolutely are the same guy. Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen are the same guy. Shane is loving life right now because he knows what he's going to get every Sunday. And it's just a simple thing. It's like Daniel Jones will get you into 3rd and 2, and Anthony Richardson will get you into 3rd and 11. And
Yeah.
like, think about how much of a difference that makes extrapolated over the course of a season. And it helps that you've got the best player in football to hand off to. The line has done a great job. Tony Sperano Jr. has been phenomenal as that line coach.
Hmm.
And like you said, like Josh Downs has been great. Pittman's catching the ball with one hand in the end zone. Alec Pierce is maybe one of the best deep threats in the league. So you're seeing all of the good things about Chris Ballard's roster because the quarterback is doing his job and not holding the offense back, which I'm sorry to say was really the case last year.
Last year, but I would even argue before last year. I thought it was really interesting. Michael Pittman Jr., he's been here since 2020. So he's seen Phillip Rivers, he's seen Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz
Okay.
in between that, Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson. He was very quick to say, like, Daniel Jones prepares more than any quarterback he has seen in his life. He's the first person in the building, the last to leave. He's like, it's week 1, week 2. And I'm thinking, dude, you might want to calm down a little bit. It's a long season. And he's like, now we're here in the middle of the season, the regular season, and he's keeping it up. And you're seeing the fruits of that labor. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Like maybe Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers were just so old they didn't need to put in that kind of time. They kind of knew what they were doing. And I'm sure there's some truth to that. But that's pretty telling that Daniel Jones is working considerably that much harder. And I think, man, when you have success, it just breeds you that work ethic too. You're gonna want to show up at 5, 6 a.m. You're gonna want to stay till 6, 7 p.m. when you see what the work is leading to. Does it end in a Super Bowl appearance? What's the ceiling for this team? Like what is the hole on this roster that could theoretically hold them back? It's hard to find holes.
I do have an answer for you. Another element to why it fits so well here is, and I talked about this with Daniel and his teammates, in New York, spotlight, right? Like it's enormous. And we talked about how that didn't really fit his personality. There was so much of that in New York. He comes here and he's anonymous. He lives like 4 blocks from me and nobody knows this. He's just this quiet dude who like existed in anonymity until like September. Like nobody thought he was going to get the job. He was just going to be the backup. There was no folk. I think that fit him. I think that was perfect and it refreshed him and he could just go to work. To answer your question, this offense is unstoppable right now. We'll see how they do against some tougher defenses down the stretch, but they've answered every question in that regard. It's the defense. It's the secondary. They've had some injuries. They've been really unlucky with corner. They're going to get some guys back over the next couple of weeks, but I mean, they can give up a lot of points. Now, can they outscore teams? Yeah, they can do it in October, November. Can you do that in December and January in Arrowhead or Buffalo or maybe Baltimore? Who knows? I mean, the Colts right now are going to have home field advantage. They haven't had a home playoff game since, my gosh, like 2014, like my second year on the beat. Andrew Luck's 3rd year. I think I'm accurate with that. So we'll see. That's going to be a big deal. I know they want to have a home playoff game here, but the defense is shaky. The line's good. The linebackers are good. The secondary is a hodgepodge right now. And that's how, if they lose games down the stretch, that's going to be the biggest culprit.
All right, I got to run here at One Bills Drive, but before I do, just give me a quick prediction. Bills, Chiefs. I mean, we're all over the place here, but that's the game of the week. You cover the entire NFL, not just the Colts. How do you see this going down?
I'm going to be weird. I think the Chiefs actually win the regular season version. I'm going to go Chiefs by 7 on
All
Sunday.
right. Hey, hard to argue, man. They are rolling. The Bills have injuries. It was a 40-9 win against Carolina. Maybe they found themselves in that game. James Cook sure did. The ground
James
game
Cook,
sure did.
man. Oh boy.
But we'll
Yeah.
see. They're going to need a Keon Coleman, a receiver, to get some separation. This game is one on the fringes. Zach Keefer, thanks so much. Everybody, do yourselves a favor. Go to The Athletic, read all of Zach's stuff. If you're like me and you love 90s nostalgia, you're always good for an Andre Rison feature, a Randall
Yeah.
Cunningham feature.
Oh
So
yeah, the good ones.
that will
Ron Coleman,
definitely
Cohen
whet
Barnes
the
too.
appetite. Awesome.
All the best, man. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, Zach.